going on, gamers? Bradley Ramsey here from PS5 Gamers, bringing you the best in gaming journalism. You may know me from PS4 Experts, but we're heading into the next generation very soon. Very excited. Love PlayStation, as you can tell. And just counting the days, man. Counting the days. And to make things a little bit harder, Sony sent some of their accessories to certain people that ordered through them early. So I can stare at the DualSense controller and my charging station and see all these other journalists, playing their preview models and talking about how amazing it is. But we're going to get into that into a second. So we posted on social media asking you, the fans, to ask us your burning questions about the DualSense. And we got a few good ones. First off, Melissa Lagani on Twitter asked, what makes it DualSense? Up until now, the controllers have been called the DualShock. And that's because they just rumbled, let's be honest. They didn't do a whole lot more than that. Even the Switch Joy-Cons kind of one-up them this generation with their HD rumble, which is nice. So Sony's changing the game here, pun intended, and with the DualSense, they're adding a whole other layer of feedback to the experience, right? So instead of just rumble, you got the haptic feedback. Instead of just plain triggers, you got the adaptive triggers. And we'll get into those two things as well. So first off, let's take a look at the glorious thing in all of its beauty. You also notice my lovely Raz from Psychonauts painting here, done by my friend Kathy for my birthday. Love that thing. Amazing work on her part. But today we're here to talk about the DualSense. So, this is the box that it came in. Pretty simple packaging. It had a kind of a wrapper around it inside of the cardboard box, and that's of course the exterior that you see there. Right off the bat here, you take it out of the box, you pick it up. It feels a bit heavier than the DualShock. I'd say about twice as heavy. You can tell there's a lot more going on inside of it. And I've seen some of the teardowns that came out recently, and there's definitely more hardware in there than what the DualShock 4 was offering. That being said, the analog sticks are identical, so those are going to feel and look exactly the same, for better or worse, than the DualShock 4. But I will say that the face buttons, they have this nice clear transparency on them. They feel good. I've had buttons on the DualShock 4 stick. Specifically, one thing that I want to point out is that the options and the new share button called the Create button, those feel much better. They're more raised up, and these were notorious for me sticking on the DualShock 4. They were kind of here. I have a DualShock 4 here as well. They didn't pop out as much, and they're pressing it right now does not feel as clicky as these ones do here. And then of course you have the touchpad here, which still clicks. The light bar runs through the side and bottom of the touchpad. I can't hook it up to a PS5, although from what I hear, you can hook these up to a PS3, which is pretty funny. I haven't tried that. Obviously, my PS3 is downstairs. Haven't used it in a long time. I'm hoping to wrap up some of the backlog before I retire the PS4 in the same way. But, you just keep it handy. You never know when nostalgia will strike. So, if you happen to get one of these early and you want to try it out, like I said, PS3s apparently will connect. And then moving on to the D-pad. So the D-pad also feels a bit more premium. I'm just a big fan of the kind of like shiny, transparent buttons. And, just overall, analog sticks aside, everything feels like a refresh in the best way possible. And, kind of flipping it over. Some people aren't a huge fan of the two-tone style. I think it looks nice. I think it looks futuristic and sleek. I'm expecting them to come out with other colors, other variations, two-tone or otherwise. And obviously, I will be on board getting those. As you can see, over here, my comparison DualShock. That I love this like silvery blue type thing. I also have one of the crystal ones that are clear. I would love it if they did that with the DualSense at some point. So to answer Melissa's question from Twitter, DualSense refers to more than just rumble. The haptic feedback in this controller, I haven't experienced it myself yet, but I'm told that, from various people online reading all these impressions, that it's a much more minute and detailed and meaningful type of feedback. So instead of just plain rumble, you're getting extremely specific types of feelings as you're playing, physical feelings from the controller. And then probably feelings from the game too, of the emotional kind, depending on what you're playing. But some examples that I've heard, is you're walking through water, you can feel kind of the footsteps left and right in the controller, the splash, and then say you're walking on wood or sand, that's going to feel different, a different type of feedback. And then another example that I really liked was somebody was saying that they, in the Astrobot demo that comes with PS5s, I say a demo, but it's really like kind of a full game Astro's Playroom. They were talking about how the sand storm that they were walking through had them feeling like there were grains of sand running through the controller and hitting their hands. So you can really kind of imagine, if developers really latch on and this doesn't become one of those first party things where only Sony studios use it, this could really be something that takes gaming to another level in terms of immersion. And so I tend to be optimistic and really hope that developers latch on. We see third-party people using this, but at the same time, developers are making multi-platform games, and as a result, they have to work with what they've got. They're making multiple versions of every game. So with Xbox, not really changing their controller a whole lot, it's going to be one of those things where you kind of just have to hope that developers are able and willing to put in that extra kind of feature set for PS5 controllers when they're working on a multi-platform title. But that remains to be seen. And again, it's a lot of work making a multi-platform game, so we'll just have to wait and see on that one. But so yeah, I think that kind of describes what DualSense is. And then of course, we talk about the adaptive triggers, which are able to adjust their tension in real time. So in the Astrobot demo, for example, they were showing a spring suit where you can tilt the controller to aim yourself, and then as you're pressing in on the trigger, you can feel that tension starting to build as you push down. And that's mimicking the spring that you're, of course, about to release, and then you let go and you launch yourself. So that's just an example. But, for games like Far Cry 6, for example, and other shooters, they could potentially have the triggers lock up on you to simulate the gun jamming. So stuff like that could be really interesting. And again, hopefully we'll see that from third-party people. But so the DualSense kind of goes way beyond vibration and kind of takes that next step towards immersion through other things. Even I've heard the speaker on this controller is a bit nicer. And you will see, too, that there is a dedicated mute button, which I really like. Not having to go into the menu to mute myself is beneficial, to be sure. So the second question that we got was someone asking about a size comparison between the DualShock 4 and the DualSense controller. And again, I'll pull out my DualShock here to show you. So width-wise, I would say they're about the same, but the general shape is definitely more kind of curved on the DualSense compared to the DualShock, especially around the handles there. The handles themselves, I want to say, I'm testing right now, they feel a bit thicker on the DualSense. The controller overall, as someone who has fairly large hands, the controller overall for the DualSense feels like it fits more comfortably into my hands. Not that the DualShock 4 is uncomfortable, but just the jump from one to the other is really impressive in terms of just the feel. And again, the extra weight just really kind of helps it feel grounded in your hand when you're holding it. It'll remain to be seen what other people think in terms of the overall feel, obviously long-term sessions. But I will say that as part of the teardowns, I know people are probably worried about all these extra features draining the battery. This does have a bigger battery than the DualShock 4. That was confirmed in the teardown, so that should help alleviate some of the worry about battery life when it comes to all these extra features. So, just to kind of pan over it one last time, this beautiful specimen. My camera isn't able to show it, but if you were to zoom in extremely far, the back section of the controller here, where the textured grip is, these are actually all extremely tiny PlayStation buttons, which I thought was a really nice touch. I also heard that could be a way to prevent counterfeit or third-party controllers from being made that mimic the DualSense but aren't actually the original model, because most counterfeit creators would not go through the trouble of mimicking those textured buttons, so little circles, squares, triangles, and X's on the back of the controller. So that's just really nice little detail. I think Sony's really kind of gone above and beyond when it comes to the detail, and the fact that these controllers retail for $70 compared to $60 for the DualShock is just insane to me, because that $10 difference is really night and day just from the build quality and the way that it feels in your hand. And before I wrap up here, I just want to also say that the DualSense charging station is very cool. It's obviously pretty simple. I recommend having one of these on hand so you don't have to use up your USB ports, plugging them into the system to charge them. And though, there's people on both sides of the argument, I do actually like the fins on both the PS5 and the fact that they're mimicked on this charging station design. So that's about it from me. Definitely expect some more videos though. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe. I'm not gonna say smash, just hit it. Don't break your keyboard. And keep an eye out for more videos like this because, you know, we are literally days away from the next generation. And I guarantee you I'm gonna have a lot more to say once I get my hands on this system. But in the meantime, this has been Bradley Ramsey with PS5 Gamers. Stay safe, have fun, and we'll talk soon.